nice to see everyone again virtually. You're on Music and Chat with Shueh-li Ong, and it's a good morning from me to you in Singapore. Yes, I'm still in Singapore. Please don't be shy in saying hi in the live chat and let us know where you're tuning in from. And as the Aussies say, don't be backwards in coming forward. I see some friends already in the live chat. Nice and early. My kind of people. I'm the early bird. I was telling someone recently that I get a little stressed out if I'm on time or late. On time, yeah, a little stressed out. I'm the early bird for sure. So anyway, last Sunday, a little bit of local news. Singapore celebrated its 55th birthday. And for those of you who are into history, Singapore was a crown colony of Britain after World War II. Then became one of 14 states of Malaysia from 63 onwards, before gaining sovereignty in 65. So it is 55 years old. Happy birthday, Singapore. Let's see who's here already. I just want to say hi to a few people. Hey, Kat. Nice to see you again. Friend of our guest, Philip Nelson. And Philip himself, disguised under Nalco Media, or not in disguise. And we have Daniel Katzenberger. I think I got your name right, I hope. Hi, Daniel. And of course, my friend AL as Seek Mitch. Seek Mitch. And of course, our guest himself is right now in San Antonio, where he's based. We have Blue Cell Studio. I guess SA is San Antonio, not South America, or in Australia, SA would be South Australia. So let us know who's hiding behind your moniker, Moniker. This could be a spelling live stream. No spelling bees, though. Oh, and our dear friend Mike Flavin, who is from Phoenixville, Pennsylvania, where I'm still to visit. Plenty of places I haven't been to yet, so I've got to create a list, I think, a travel list, and start ticking away. Someone was, yeah. So there you go. Give me some suggestions, perhaps. Anyway, someone just popped in. Joshua, Poway, California. Not been to Poway either. So that's on my list for sure. Anyone else say hi before I go into a little musical ditty? By request of our guest, Philip Nelson, he said, if you can play the theme from Star Trek, that would be cool. So I hurried into I have an archive of all the things that I've done, obviously, your directory of music. And I plonked it in my, I use MainStage. It's a live performance software so that I can run backing tracks or plugins and effects and dial them on demand as I'm playing without having to struggle with cables and pedals and stuff. Although sometimes having the real item, the hardware item is nice, very nice. I'll say one last hello to my dear friend Sam, who's from Sydney, Australia. Sam, I hope you don't have a 60-second delay, because it's no fun when you are lagging behind a long line of people wanting to ask questions. And yes, please put your questions in the live chat and I will address them as the stream moves along. So without further ado, let me turn on my Theremin cam and play you my Star Trek theme. Hopefully everything is ready to run. Let me just tune up quickly. There you go, Philip Nelson. Your wish has come true. I wish I could put like a delay pedal in there or something like that and thicken it out a bit and make it more spacey. But I deliver as I promise. So obviously today's topic of interest is Lightwave 3D, which is why you're all here. Lightwave, as you know, was a CGI program developed by NewTek and released with its video editing system, VideoToaster, that consisted of the powerhouse Commodore Amiga. And it brings a few happy tears to my eyes as I think about the Commodore Amiga, because obviously I had one, as I said in my previous live stream with Philip, walk down memory lane. I got started on the 2000, which my mom has conveniently thrown away. And I used Sculpt Animate 3D. I never got into Lightwave 3D, sorry, because I ended up using Maya when the company that I was working with green lighted the development of a series of music edutainment CD games that I had written the curriculum for. I got them to approve it so that we could develop it. I wanted to show you a picture, a quick snapshot of the front of the CD cover, if I may. So here it is. Haven't called Philip in, but the Skype thing is there. So I really wanted the games, the series of games are called Agates the Rock Group, and I wanted the look to have a 2D, 3D type thing to it. There are several other software programs that we used besides Maya, of course, for 3D and 2D work. But I'm proud to say that it's not on permanent display in the Strong National Museum of Play. I thought it had gone, the way of the dodo, that after we had developed it and all that, it was no more in existence, but it was deemed worthy. It is worthy to be in the museum. So I hope to go there one day to check it out. So Agates the Rock Group. I don't think you can get it anymore. I think it ran on Windows 95 or something. No comments. Anyway, I have a compliment from Joshua. That was beautiful. You have a very beautiful voice. Thank you. I don't consider my voice beautiful, but it's nice to know that you think so. I think it's a little screechy and slangy at the best of times. Slangy is my slang for saying it's a bit of everything. I picked up the way I speak from wherever I've been, I think, with a start in Australia. I was born in Australia, so I was slangy to begin with. Anyway, we have an exciting stream today, and without further ado, I would like to call in our guest. Let me set up the Skype screen. Philip Nelson, I'm calling you now. Hey, Philip.
Hey, what's going on?
Everything's going on. Let me try and reframe you while I
Did I
give
move?
you your label, as they call it. You've been labeled.
I love a good label.
There you are. So Philip and I did a quick test before the stream started, and I noticed how lovely his shirt looks.
It's my tribute to Smokey and the Bandit. Do you remember that movie?
Yes, I do. Oh no, that's awful. Is that a good thing that I remember?
No, it's not. But it's great, but this is a great shirt. This is majestic. This is a majestic shirt.
You know, it takes a strong man to be able to wear something like that.
I feel pretty strong right now, I have to admit.
Okay, let me just quickly adjust you so we can see all your glory. Hair and shirt and all. Okay, I think I got you in a good place. You're in a good place today, Philip.
I am in a great place. Thanks for having me, and I have to thank you for honoring my crazy request to open the show with the Star Trek theme song. You know, we're here talking about visual effects and CGI and animation, and anybody that likes that technology is a Star Trek fan, or you're kicked out of the industry. So you've made everyone happy here tonight. So thank you so much.
Thanks, Philip. That was a good call. I hadn't considered playing Star Trek. I thought, well, everyone's going to think that's lame. Sometimes you need your friends around you to tell you you're making the right decision.
It wasn't the right decision. It was a fantastic decision. And I think you brought joy to everyone watching this webcast tonight.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, it brought me joy too. I love Star Trek. So speaking of being a fan of, I got a few questions, and of course then I want you to do a lot of talking within reason. And your friends, I hear that some of your friends are in the industry, so industry input is very valuable. That makes the live stream more exciting and more interesting, and you are helping us steer where it's going, and that's always fun when you leave the steering to somebody else.
I agree, and I'm already seeing some of my friends who worked on all these shows in the chat, so it's nice to have them there, which I know they'll probably be heckling me very soon, which is encouraged on this show. So yes. Thank you very much.
I'm familiar with Philip's friends now. They do heckle a lot. When I first saw the heckling, I thought to myself, isn't that kind of rude for Philip? Then I realized it's just part of just what it is. It's a heckle. But they
say a true friend stabs you in the front, and that's what my friends do. So thank you guys. Also, I want to tell you that this may not be appropriate for your show, but I'm going to say it anyway.
Okay.
That there's a term that is used commonly in the Lightwave community called a Nurnie.
A Nurnie?
A Nurnie.
Oh, I saw it.
And I warned everyone that we're playing a drinking game tonight, that if I use the word every time I use the word Nurnie, that they have to take a drink. So I hope all my friends that are watching have a lot of beverages, because every time I say Nurnie, they have to take a sip.
I get it now.
We're like 10 in already. So just if Nurnie is said, they have to do it. So
okay,
hopefully it'll be good.
Okay, Nurnie then. I'll say a few.
All right, good.
Okay.
And I'll tell you what it is later. We're saving that for like a reveal at the end.
Got it. Okay, speaking of reveals, so I know you're a Lightwave 3D fan because you told me yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, after all, being one of the strategic people behind packaging,
NewTek.
I suppose.
Well, no, I worked in sales and marketing and strategic development at NewTek for many years. So, I wasn't there during the Amiga days. Well, I was there at the end of the Amiga days when it was just launching on Windows and things like that. But, I was a customer of NewTek before joining NewTek, and I've been a Lightwave fan since it came out. So
do you know how to use it then?
I do.
Oh, good.
I can make a spaceship. I can model an alien. It may not be pretty anymore. I haven't done it in a while. I can make a hairdryer like nobody's business, though.
But does it work?
No, absolutely not.
So
but it looks good on camera.
What do you believe were the strengths of Lightwave 3D?
Well, Lightwave, when it came out in the early 90s, was the first time that broadcast level 3D animation was available to anyone. And Mike, thank you for drinking half your beer. You need to save some for later because we're going to say Nurnie a lot. But anyway, when Lightwave came out, it was part of the VideoToaster, and so it exposed 3D animation to an entirely new group of people. And at that time, Alias Wavefront, you would spend $30,000 on a copy of Alias. and then spend another $100,000 on the computer to run it. And so really with the Amiga and the VideoToaster and Lightwave, not only could you model and animate and render, but with the VideoToaster, you could output it to tape. So it really made 3D animation accessible to people, and it allowed a lot of really bad animation to be made, but it also allowed a lot of amazing things to get the green light that would have never been greenlit before.
So in a way, I think we've talked about this. Am I very loud? I had
Nope,
to
you
turn
sound great to me.
Okay. So in a way, the word you use, democratization of technical tools, and the way I see it, it's kind of helped push the growth of the growth envelope of the creative industry, and it continues to do that. Though I have a question about that software and hardware being affordable enough and available in such a way whereby we could have, our home studios, just like with music, we have home studios.
Yeah.
Things can now be scaled down and brought home. What do you think of the idea of software by subscription that seems to be becoming more popular? Will that kind of get in the way of this that we've been talking about?
That's a hot button topic.
Right.
But software as a subscription, I actually hate it, but it's a fact of life today. Every company, they want residual income. They want to know that if they go to their board of directors, that they have this much revenue coming in over time. And so, perpetual licenses are going away quickly. So like you see Adobe, it's getting harder and harder to have a perpetual license of anything. But, that's one of the things I just like, being able to pay for things and then use it. And then if you need to upgrade, you pay for the upgrade. If you're confident that your upgrades are going to be good and that people want them, then, that's just what I prefer. But guess what? I don't run Adobe, so I don't get to choose that. And they kind of are the Borg of the creative industry while we talk about Star Trek. In fact, I would like to point out that behind me, in honor of tonight, I decided I was just going to play Star Trek Voyager. So you may see some Borg behind me as we talk tonight.
I love the Borg. In fact, let's get started with the picture, shall we? Since you started with Voyager, because I tried to create a timeline of some of the features that I thought you might want to discuss, but I do have a picture of the Borg. So hold on, Philip Nelson. No, that's not the Borg. Hold on. That is Star Trek Voyager. I had one of the Borg. Hold on.
Well, a little trivia while we discuss this, and I'm sorry for totally messing up your timeline for the discussion, but a good friend of mine, Ron Thornton, who I consider the godfather of CGI for television, and he ran Foundation Imaging, and a lot of my friends that are online tonight got their start with Ron. And you guys in the chat can correct me, but he told me that the first time that CGI was used on Star Trek on the main ship was on Voyager, and he said that the physical model, the way you could tell the physical model and the 3D model, is at the back of Voyager there are more lights on the 3D model, because on the physical model you couldn't get the fiber optic in to do the lights. So a little trivia, and I can be corrected, but I was given that piece of information from the godfather himself, Ron Thornton, creator of the Nurnie. So take a beverage if you're participating in our game.
I found my
Here,
picture
I'll join you in this game.
There you go. I just have water.
You can drink water. Take a beverage.
I like water and tea. Usually, during the day, I'm a water and tea person, or a hot chocolate. I like hot chocolate.
So I want to talk about this the Borg Queen that you showed.
Yes.
Because one of the things that's really cool about that scene is when it was done for the movie, it was a very, very expensive shot to do. And when they wanted to bring the Borg Queen into the television show, their budgets were a lot less, and so they did use Lightwave 3D to basically recreate the Borg Queen assembly shot for a fraction of the cost that they did for the movie. So, and we're kind of getting a little bit ahead, but that's what Lightwave really allowed people to do, is for a fraction of the traditional budget to create compelling art for television and film, with a very creative commando strike force team that could get things done very quickly. And so that's one of the things that really put Lightwave on the map.
And you had mentioned that. I'm sorry. Were you finishing with Voyager?
Yeah.
Okay. And
no, that was just Borg Queen. I was giving the Borg Queen a little love. That's all.
Oh, nice. Yes. That's why I actually downloaded the picture, because, she's one of my faves.
That scene blew people away, especially in the movie. I think it was First Contact. You guys can correct me, but they had the Borg Queen assembly, but then they wanted to bring it to the television show, and they did it on a fraction of the budget and a fraction of the time it took the film team to do it. So go Lightwave.
Yeah, likewise. So you did tell me a little about how it started, and a movie of note is, how it started, meaning one of its first users, not the history of the making, but that Lightwave 3D was first used, quote unquote, in this movie, Free Jack.
Yes. So Free Jack, here's what's really funny, and I wasn't at NewTek at the time, but I was a Lightwave fan, and so of course I went to see Free Jack because it's got Mick Jagger, Emilio Estevez, and it's about time travel, and they used Lightwave when Emilio Estevez was a race car driver, and basically he was pulled, in time when he had a wreck, and they did that with Lightwave. And it was really funny. Tim Jennison, the founder of NewTek, was telling me that they were so excited to go see this movie, and they were, in the theater, and they were watching it, and it wasn't the greatest animation in the world, but it was, from what I was told by Tim, it was the first time Lightwave was used in a theatrical release movie. So it definitely is notable because it has Emilio Estevez, Anthony Hopkins, and Mick Jagger. So if you're bored this weekend, did it have Renee Russo? I don't remember her.
Yeah, she's
really?
right there, on the the left of in the poster.
Yes.
Sorry.
Before she was in Tin Cup, she was in Free Jack, and her career still did well anyway. But yeah, it was not the greatest movie, but it's a fun movie. So got a little walk down memory lane with Free Jack there.
That's so funny. I have actually a question from Sam in Sydney, Australia, who wanted to know, in the new show Picard, which I have watched all of, where they in the Queen Chamber was Lightwave used? Sorry.
I don't know. I don't know about that one. Some of my friends in chat that are in Hollywood and current animators may be able to answer that, but I'm not sure. I know that when the new series Discovery was announced, they were doing a big call for Lightwave artists on Discovery. So yeah, but I don't know about Picard. So sorry I'm letting you down already, but I'm going to have to say Nurnie.
Now tell me, some people might not know this information, but is Lightwave still around?
Oh yeah, Lightwave's doing very well. I always, during my 20 plus years at NewTek, I would always say Lightwave 3D is the dirty secret of Hollywood, because producers and directors and visual effects supervisors would say, oh, we want this done in Maya, and artists would go home and make it in Lightwave in a very fraction of the time, and then show up at work with converted models and say, here you go, because it really doesn't matter what tool you make it in as long as it looks good. It's just like what keyboard do you use? If you're a good artist, you can use any tool. But so many lightwave artists are very, very fast with that tool,
Yeah.
and so I've always called it the dirty secret. I mean, even recently, I've had friends that have said, "Yeah, they say it's all done in whatever, and we just do it in lightwave and then deliver it in whatever file format they ask for, and they don't know." So it's kind of fun, and it's a fast piece of software to use, and it's not super expensive. You don't have to buy 6 million plugins, but yeah. So that's my answer to that question, Nurnie.
Yeah, no, that's a good answer, Philip. You may have a drink.
All right, I will. Cheers, Nurnie. Nurnie to everyone.
Okay, I have a picture here of Unsolved Mysteries, hosted by Robert Stack from 1980. When did he host it? 1988. Prior to that was a different host. I see here Raymond Burr.
So Unsolved Mysteries was an early use of lightwave on broadcast television because everybody likes to talk about alien abductions. And so it actually allowed them to really do some great recreations of alien abduction scenes, and it was a really cool use of lightwave, and we all geeked out on that one.
I have a picture that I did a quick snapshot of one of these UFOs from Unsolved Mysteries, as you can see.
Let's see. I'm actually watching two screens. I'm watching the Skype chat, which is just you and me, and then I'm also watching the YouTube feed, which is just a little bit delayed. In a second, any moment now, the UFO will pop up on my phone. But yep, that was some early lightwave stuff, and I'm trying to remember who did that. Kelly may know, or Dan Katzenberger may know who did that. But it was, and considering that is early 90s, that was cutting edge broadcast television animation. I mean, it was amazing.
I have a little rant from, I forgot who's hiding behind Lightforge Random Network.
That's Kelly.
Kelly, thank you. Sorry, Kelly. Please forgive me.
We don't have to talk about the painful stuff, though. Yeah. We don't have to talk about the Discovery spin.
Yeah, she was... Kelly is a guy or a gal?
It's a guy.
Guy. Sorry, Kelly. So he said, unfortunately, what happened there with Discovery is that they shafted the LA Lightwave users who could have done it and were working on it, and sent the VFX to spin in Toronto because of tax credits.
Thanks for the pep talk, Kelly. No, just kidding. I'm just heckling Kelly. He'll heckle me. I'll heckle him right back. But yeah, and so I got to go on to another cool early lightwave usage that is actually quite epic, and that is Babylon 5, which I mentioned Ron Thornton earlier. Ron was a good friend of mine, one of the just sweetest guys you'll ever meet. And he was a pioneer in so many ways. In fact, just giving him a little tribute here, is worth doing the show tonight. But Ron was actually a practical model builder, and he worked on Doctor Who for the BBC, back in the day. And then, he worked for Roger. He worked on with Roger Corman Films, which was a cult classic film, house, and then, he started Foundation Imaging. And Foundation Imaging was the rock stars of television animation in the 90s. And they were the geniuses behind Babylon 5. And what the scope that they pulled off on Babylon 5 was unbelievable for television. And, you look at it today, 30 years later, and the texturing's a little glossy, and but it's such a great show, and they were able to just do some amazing things on those Amiga computers back in the day. So Dave Adams, we got to give Dave Adams a shout out too. So Dave
Adams.
Adams was,
Right.
yes, he is another just dear friend that that actually was a Lightwave legend who passed away. And this is, this may not be family friendly, but he ran a mailing list called the Lightwave Elitist Bastards.
Yeah, I see Daniel actually put it in the
And
live chat.
and it was the studs of that industry, and I'm still on that mailing list, and I still talk to all those hooligans. But yeah, Lightwave Dave, he even went by Lightwave Dave. Most people did not know his last name unless they'd worked with him directly. But yeah, it was just a bunch of smart, creative people back in the 90s that were taking these tools and doing amazing things. Because as you know, you're a musician and you're a multi-instrumentalist, but it doesn't matter how cool the instrument is if you don't have the talent to use it. I could buy a really expensive keyboard or guitar, and if I don't know how to play it, it's just a piece of wood, or a piece of plastic. And these guys back in those days just took this tool of Lightwave 3D and just changed the world. They really did, and it was so exciting. But I love seeing the Babylon 5 image, and it just brings back so many memories. And we were all geeking out watching this and not believing that it was on television, because of what they were doing.
So, of course, I looked up Ron Thornton, and besides his work at the BBC, he was actually working on Todd Rundgren's multimedia project in '91.
Yes.
And I love Todd Rundgren. Todd Rundgren was also very much an envelope pusher. What I mean by that is, you push the envelope. He's always trying something new, and I feel very much like his kin.
Yeah, well, Todd Rundgren was very close friends with Tim Jennison, the founder of NewTek, and so when he did the song Change My World, or was it Change Myself? Yeah, I want to change myself. Do you remember Change Myself?
I think so, yes.
Yeah, well, Todd and his buddies all did, he was like the first time an artist had ever helped make their own music video. And so Todd and Ron and these cool guys got together and they did the Change Myself music video, and I would highly and I mean, it's compared to today's standards, it's simple, but if you think about, this is early 90s, and Todd Rundgren's the artist, and he's mapping himself onto leaves floating around and teapots are exploding, and it was just, because at that time it was shortly after Dire Straits did Money for Nothing, and everybody was freaking out about these movers that look like little cubes. And then Todd Rundgren does this video, and it's video mapped on the 3D animation, and it was just amazing. And it was inspirational. It was inspirational for anybody at that time, because not only was it a cool music video, but the artist actually was one of the animators that worked on it, and everybody loves Todd Rundgren. So I was actually yelled at it by Todd Rundgren once, though, I have to admit.
Oh, really? What happened?
So he was doing, when I was still at NewTek, he was doing a tour, and as everybody knows, Todd Rundgren is a visual artist just as much as he's a musical artist.
Yeah.
It's an experience. If you go to a Todd Rundgren show, you actually experience it's all senses are hit, right?
Yes.
He's showing up in a space suit, and he's doing costumes, and he's doing crazy stuff, and there's video that's timed, and so he was a customer of NewTek, and the guy that was running his video for his tour had something come up and had to leave, so they called me, and they're like, Philip, we need you to come to, it was Columbus, Ohio, and we need you to run the TriCaster many years after the Change Myself video. And I'm like, I show up, and Todd, because he's ultra creative, right? And I flew in that day, and the show is that night, and I'm like, Todd, I'm really nervous. I don't know your musical cues, and I no offense, but I don't know all of your songs. And so I sit down with him backstage, and he's like, oh, when I go run this video. And when I do this, run this video. And I'm taking notes as much as I can. But guess what? I missed the and I ran the Flamingos video when I was supposed to be running something else. And he's on stage jamming, and he's like, wrong video! And, you know, he's yelling at me because I'm like, oh, I panicked. And so the good news is the next night I had it down. But I totally botched every musical cue for Todd Rundgren. And it was really because I was called in at the last minute and did not know the songs. And I was like mortified, and his wife was there, and I was like, and the next night I'm like, I need you to sit by me, and you're looking at my script, and you cue me, and I'll punch up whatever you want. Because I knew how to run the gear. Yeah. I just didn't know. I wasn't in all the rehearsals, and it was so, it was kind of a moment of truth when I got yelled at by Todd Rundgren.
Yeah, it's very sobering, isn't it?
No, it was fun. I was like, sorry, dude. I warned you before the show that I did not know your musical cues. And, I proved that I was right.
Oof. I would have been beyond mortified. I would have been, oh no. Oh,
I did say oh no, but I warned them all. I was like, I do not know the music, and I need to really have hard cues, not ...
Yeah,
whatever.
Yeah,
I don't even know what that
you.
was.
I know
I
what
missed
you
it.
mean. Well, I got pictures of something else here in the timeline of, I tried to make them chronological, and the next one on my list is the Titanic, 1997.
Yeah. You know, and I know some of my buddies that are watching were probably on the Titanic crew, but Titanic was a great Lightwave 3D movie, and you know what was cool about that is Lightwave was not supposed to be the lead 3D tool on Titanic. It was another package, which I won't name, but the Lightwave team was so good, they got a shot, and the other team was running behind schedule. Everybody knows the story of Titanic. It was late, it was over budget, and it was good. The critics were like, this is going to be the biggest flop, and James Cameron, hey, Junior Elizabeth Jr., I'm sorry, I'll come back to your questions in a minute. But, you know, so the Lightwave team, they're like, okay, here's a shot. And the Lightwave team finished it. And then they get another shot. Then they finished it. They get another shot. Next thing you know, most of the visual effects for Titanic were done in Lightwave. The ship, you know, the whole scene when the ship turns up on its end and breaks away, and it's green screen. But yeah, that was an amazing movie. You know, it's an epic movie, one of the highest grossing films. And, you know, the Lightwave team really did a fantastic job of just capturing so many shots for that film.
So
yes, Junior Elizabeth Jr., we are artists, but we're all artists in different ways. I'm a mime. No, I'm not a mime.
No, I think Philip Nelson is a man of many tricks.
I'm a nerd. I'm a nerd that made good.
Quality tricks. No, don't say that. Don't be one of those.
Look, speaking of Borg, we have Borg.
Well, there you go. So the Titanic, of course, was a film directed, written, and co-produced and co-edited by James Cameron. That was not the only time he actually used Lightwave, but before I go to the next one, I want to look quickly at Jimmy Neutron, which I never actually watched the film nor the... I think it ended up being on Nickelodeon, is it?
It was. Well, yeah, they worked closely with Nickelodeon. You know, so John Davis and Keith Alcorn out of Dallas, Texas, had a company called DNA Productions. And they did some really innovative early, you know, animation work. And they did, I think they did a cart. They also were cell animators as well. And I think the show was called Nana and Puss Puss, but I don't know. But anyway, so back in the day, we at NewTek used to do an awards ceremony called the Wavy Awards. It was like the best Lightwave of the year. And John Davis and Keith Alcorn submitted a reel for a short called Johnny Quasar.
Ah.
Okay? And it won. It won a Wavy Award. And in the audience was a film legend named Steve Odekirk. And Steve wrote the movie Patch Adams. He also did Ace Ventura 2 When Nature Calls and a bunch of other stuff. Kung Pao Enter the Fist, which was actually afterwards. But he was there in the audience. He teamed up with John and Keith and developed that property from Johnny Quasar into what is known as Jimmy Neutron. Mm-hmm. And so I actually worked with John and Keith at DNA because I was at NewTek at the time, and it was the first feature film ever made in off-the-shelf software. Which, for people that aren't animators, it was you buy software and make a movie, because Pixar and all those guys, they have packages that they use, but they're writing all this custom code and they're doing all this, and basically. The DNA Productions guys bought Lightwave, and they used another tool called Messiah, and they made Jimmy Neutron, and it was an amazing movie. I think it was nominated for Best Animated Feature Film, but don't hold me to that. But it was groundbreaking because it's a bunch of guys with a great idea in Dallas that made a great movie, and they've gone on to do some other things like Ant Bully and some other things. An interesting piece of trivia is I'm a huge fan of Beavis and Butthead. When I was in college, you would go hang out with your friends, and then at night you would come home late at night and watch Beavis and Butthead, and that's what we did. But an interesting piece of trivia is Mike Judge, who did Beavis and Butthead, was an animator at DNA Productions in Dallas. And John told me this. So, if it's not true, the owner of DNA told me a trick. But he said Mike Judge came to him with this idea for Beavis and Butthead and pitched it to him, and they were like, "Oh, it's a terrible idea. We're not doing Beavis and Butthead." So Mike Judge actually left DNA Productions and got his deal with MTV and made Beavis and Butthead. And so the funny thing is they're all still friends, but every time, Beavis and Butthead, something happens, Mike Judge will send an email to them and say, "Hey, did you see my new movie, Beavis and Butthead Do America? Did you see my, anniversary box set?" So he always kind of digs it in just a little bit. And, and as everybody knows, Beavis and Butthead spun off into The King of the Hill. But, it's kind of weird that all these people are all linked. It's such a small industry. These creative people all, I bucket people into two categories, and I'm ADD, so I kind of go all around. But I really bucket people into the categories of there's those type of people who build everybody up around them. Yeah. And then there are the other people who succeed by tearing those down around them. And so this Lightwave community, what really made it so powerful back in the early days was the fact that everybody was building each other up. They were pulling each other up. Yeah. So, you have a great modeler, an animator, generalist, whatever. They're all just helping each other succeed and celebrating each other's success. Yeah. Which I think is what made Lightwave so powerful in TV. It was a great tool and film as well, but what really made it successful was the community. Yeah. And it was all these people who were sharing ideas and helping each other, and hey, there's a project, who wants to get an opportunity? And it was just a great group of people that were just there to help each other. Yeah. And that's why that's one of the things I loved about the whole, and the Amiga and VideoToaster in general was the same mentality. It was like, oh my gosh, look at this great technique I discovered, and let's share it instead of hiding it and trying to, have something no one else has. It's more about the discovery and community just as much as it was the tool and the art.
I remember starting up with trying to do 3D animation on Scout Animate, and really I didn't know who to go to for support. So I met this guy, I think was at a trade show in Australia, and I don't know where he is now. His name, if he's still around, Marshall White, and he was involved in a car accident. He was like a fine arts person, was involved in a car accident, was a quadriplegic, but continued with the help of digital animation tools to
Wow.
continue to do his work. And he said to you, when I met him, he said to you, and I always remember this because he was one of my angels. He said, you can use my studio during my downtime, and I'm helping
Wow.
you because you help yourself. You know, like, I want to learn. So here, use my tools because you've shown me that you want to learn. You're not trying to get someone to please do it for me. It's, you know, you want to get the stuff done. And I was eager. I was very eager. And I'll always remember him. Wherever you are, Marshall, hi. I hope you're doing well. And I want to bring in a comment from Mike Flavin. Mike Flavin said, change myself the video. Todd used a load full of Amigas running for weeks, and which reminded me when I was doing 3D stuff, it'd take me 2 weeks to render, I think, like a 2-minute clip animation. And
it's funny because nowadays you have, like, you know, real-time almost rendering. And back then you would see scan lines drawing. And then you would see another scan line drawing. And it was so exciting when you could actually see a picture. You're like, oh my gosh, it's halfway through. I can see what I'm doing. But yeah, it's, you know, but that's really, like you said, it's about people that just are door openers. You know, they want to open doors for people. You have to choose if you walk through that door. But there's some people that succeed by opening doors for others. And that's why, you know, all these people that are in the chat and my friends that are watching, everybody just help build each other up, you know, and that's what makes the world great. Speaking of change myself.
I know. I'm very grateful for all the friends I have. That's all I can say right now. Very, very beyond gratitude. I'm very lucky. So on to the next project that benefited a lot from Lightwave 3D Avatar, another James Cameron project. And Philip and I were talking about the virtual art department. So Philip, if you'd like to say something about it.
So a longtime friend of mine, his name's Rob Powers, and he actually worked at Saban. So he worked on a lot of the Power Ranger type stuff that Saban did back in the early days. And, you know, he worked with James Cameron. When James Cameron was going to do Avatar, he knew that he had to have new workflows that didn't exist. And so Rob basically worked at James Cameron's house for Nurnie to Dan Katzenberger. All right, Nurnie. Dan said it. Cheers. So anyway, so thank you. Shelly's in on our party. So anyway. But they developed that concept of the virtual art department because Avatar was shot in green screen, you know, most of the film. And so if you ever watch the behind the scenes, you'll see James Cameron has this little screen, and he's watching in real time the actors in that virtual environment. So as a director, he was actually directing them looking at the set instead of just looking at them in a green screen. And that was pioneered by Rob Powers, who joined NewTek and, you know, took over the Lightwave team for a certain period of time. And now he's gone on to other things. But, yeah, he helped pioneer that concept of the virtual art department for Avatar. So that truly was groundbreaking.
I've got a couple of pictures to show the juxtaposition of that virtual art department result or the benefit of using it. So you see the actors in their gear, and then you see it projected on the screen as James Cameron would see it, so he could say, okay, in real time, based on what I see, you need to maybe stand more to your right or have more aggression or something like that. So it was like he was directing live action rather than someone.
Yeah, and it, you know, because you know you talk to actors and directors, and working in green screen is difficult because it's all imagination. But once you start integrating tools where you can see how they look in the environment and they're walking around a tree or a stump, and playing bongos on these little tree stumps in their world. You can actually direct those humans in that virtual environment. So that was groundbreaking and insanely cool. So
I wonder how much
yeah,
that cost.
more than I have. It's out of my budget. Not my personal budget, can't afford it.
Do,
So
do you think we'll ever have a scaled down home studio version of a one of those virtual art departments?
I would be shocked if we don't. I mean, processors are getting so much faster, tools are getting easier, costs are coming down, and then you have, augmented reality and, or virtual reality leading into augmented reality. So yeah, I would be shocked if we don't have that
Yeah,
on Snapchat. You know,
yeah,
I mean, that we're going there. It's going there quickly.
yeah. All right, then next on our list, which is, oh, I skipped it. Ha! Firefly.
Oh yes, Firefly. Um, Mike, come on, live action animation. Yes, it's gonna happen. It's true. We're getting heckled by Mike, but
Oh
he
yeah,
is
I
saying
see it.
Nurnie a lot. So, um,
Oh, I've got
oh
something
yeah, we
from Daniel too. Let
okay.
me
You
put
can
it on
shout
the.
out Dan. Daniel's been a long time cool friend, so it's nice to have him on the chat.
He says, "Do you
Nurnie
remember
Dan.
that time when Lightwave users bought a full-page ad in an industry trade magazine just to thank NewTek for being such a great company? That cost $6,000 way back when." I'll put it up again.
You know,
Who
to
does
answer
that?
Dan's question, who does that? Cool people do that. And that's that. It really, like I said earlier, it goes back to community. These people. There were friends who had worked together on shows. There's friends who are on the bulletin board systems and the forums and all these different things who may have not met in person, but they're very close friends. I mean, I had known Ron for many years before we actually ever hung out in person. And I loved Ron Thornton. What just a sweet guy. And yeah, so that's cool. And Mike, I know you're not heckling. I just like to heckle people. So you got the heckle clean. But yeah, so Firefly. Firefly. I have a funny story about that too. But yeah, Firefly was another TV show done in Lightwave that was a fantastic show, a Western set in space. And if you haven't seen Firefly, you need to stop what you're doing and go watch it right now. And my favorite episode was the one called Janestown. But, it was a great sci-fi action show. It's basically a Western set in space with an unbelievable cast. Nathan Fillion leading the way, and Adam Baldwin and Summer Glau, and just some really good people. And what's crazy is as let's see, Sam Vox said, best sci-fi series ever that was not renewed. Because it wasn't. But they did get a movie after the fact because the fans are so hardcore. They were able to get that movie, which was called Serenity. And it was just so good, and the animation was great, the storytelling was great, the acting was great. And I have a funny story to tell. So after Firefly was off the air, I was called by a guy named Sammy Aridi from Hollywood who was working with William Shatner
Yeah.
on a project. And everybody knows William Shatner, Captain Kirk. They were doing a website called myouterspace.com. And he was like, hey, Bill wants to interview Leonard Nimoy on the bridge of the aircraft carrier in San Diego during San Diego Comic-Con, and we want to do it in a TriCaster, and we want to have a virtual set that looks like the bridge of a starship. And I was running strategic development at the time at NewTek, and so of course I said yes. I was like, heck yeah, we'll help you with that. And so after that I got to know, so when we did that, Shatner said that he would come speak at our booth and talk about stuff at the NewTek booth at SIGGRAPH, which is the big computer graphics trade show. So another longtime cool friend of NewTek, as Dan mentioned, we actually had a club called the Cool Friends of NewTek. But another one is Dick Van Dyke. Dick Van Dyke. I mean, everybody knows Dick Van Dyke, but a lot of people don't realize is that Dick Van Dyke, Lee Stringer. Oh my gosh, Lee Stringer's watching. Lee is a stud. He's one of my longtime buddies and just a fantastic artist, and it's good. And he's heard of that show. He's heard of Firefly because he probably made it. And you know what? We got to ask a question to the chat room. Lee, where are you living now? Because Lee is a gentleman of the world. You never know what country he's in creating animation, but you're in Singapore, right, Shelley?
Yes, right now, yes.
Okay. You never know. He could be in Singapore right now. It could happen.
Yeah, where are you, Lee?
But anyway, back to my story while Lee replies to my ADD question. But, so Dick Van Dyke, so we set it up and I said, look, we're going to have Dick Van Dyke in our booth interviewing William Shatner. And because Dick Van Dyke was a geek. He had a LightWave. He would do animations of dinosaurs in his pool for his grandkids and all this stuff. In fact, Dick Van Dyke also did some 3D animation for Diagnosis Murder while he was starring on the show.
Yeah, I have a picture here of him in the poster of Diagnosis Murder.
Yes, and so he did some animation for that show. But anyway, so we set this deal up for Van Dyke to interview Shatner at the NewTek booth. And earlier in the day, I'm on stage interviewing some cool Lightwave artists, and there was this guy named Andrew Clement. Andrew Clement is a longtime friend. He was one of the animators that worked on Hercules and Xena, but he is also a special effects artist, and he runs the Dick Smith School of Special Effects. So, so I'm interviewing him about a show he did called Repo Men, where it wasn't Repo Man with Emilio Estevez. It was the one where they sell artificial hearts, and if you can't pay your bills, they take your heart out. Okay. But he had designed all those organs in Lightwave and then printed them out and made them into physical props. So I was interviewing him in my booth, in the NewTek booth, and after his interview, he's like, "I hear Bill's coming by today." I was like, "Really? Yeah." I said, "How did?" He goes, "I didn't realize it, but he's actually Shatner's son-in-law." I don't know if I'm supposed to say that, but anybody in the industry now knows it. So if I wasn't supposed to say that, Andrew, I'm sorry. But anyway, so he was like, "Yeah, Bill was at my house today," and he was like, "Where are you going?" "I'm going to SIGGRAPH," and Shatner was like, "So am I." And then, they're at the booth. But, the entire trade show floor shut down. There was nobody in any other booth. We had to do crowd control as we led them in. And it was an amazing panel. And I had the honor of introducing, William Shatner and Dick Van Dyke as they geeked out about how 3D animation has changed science fiction television. It was so geeky and awesome and amazing. So that was actually a highlight for me, and I need to find that video because I want to prove to everyone I actually introduced them both. But anyway, so back to Serenity, because I am ADD. So a few years later, Shatner has this charity, and if you want to get involved with the charity, it's called the Hollywood Charity Horse Show, because Bill Shatner does this charity every year where he raises all this money for disabled kids and adults that have certain disabilities to get therapy with horses in Burbank.
Oh, wow.
And it's amazing. So I go to that party, and, I actually played that party once. It was pretty cool. But I check in, and I'm like, I go to the check-in, and they're like, "Oh, Mr. Nelson, you're not on the list. And have you checked with VIP?" And I'm like, there's no way I'm on VIP at this party. No way on earth. I'm like, well, you're not on this list, so if you're not on VIP, I'm sorry. So I go over to VIP, and I was on the list, which was amazing. And I sit down at this table. I was the first one there, and I sit down at the table, and then, a guy sits down. I'm like, hey, I'm Philip. Welcome to the table. And it was like this Olympic bobsledder. And then these two beautiful women sit down next to me. And I'm like, hey, I'm Philip. Welcome to the table. And it was Shannon Tweed and Pamela Stanley. So, Gene Simmons and Paul Stanley links, from Kiss. And then these two guys sit down across from me, and it's Nathan Fillion from Serenity and Firefly and Adam Baldwin.
Wow.
And so I'm thinking, I'm sitting at the wrong table. I'm not supposed to be at this table. I was like kind of afraid that I was going to be the dummy that now has to go sit in the back, and so I go over to Shatner's assistant. I'm like, I think I sat at the wrong table. Can you rescue me? She goes, no, you're supposed to be there. We thought you would have fun. But so what was really funny is, so I'm like the only non-celebrity there, and my buddy that I brought with me is the guy named Gabe Abelson, who was a writer for Letterman. So he wrote monologues for Letterman. So I was the only civilian at the table,
Civilian.
And but a funny story, which has nothing to do with animation, but Nathan Fillion and Adam Baldwin were two of the nicest dudes. And this was way after Serenity had ended and Firefly had ended. He was doing Castle and, and Big Star. And, so I go to the restroom. Nathan Fillion is in the restroom. Okay? And sorry to embarrass you, but I have to tell this story. And some guy in the bathroom walks up to Nathan Fillion and is like, Mr. Fillion, I'm your biggest fan. Can I have your autograph? And he turns around and he goes, do you mind if I finish going to the bathroom first? And but he was just so nice, and I it's nice when you meet cool celebrities, and they're just good people, and they love their fans, and even if they're going to the bathroom, they'll be nice to them, and so it made me a bigger fan of him, just how he treats his fans. So sorry, my ADD kicks in.
No
I think we've been saying Nurnie too much, and I blame all those crazy Lightwave guys.
No worries. Lee tells us he's in Singapore.
So y'all are neighbors.
Yeah, whereabouts? I'm not sure if I'll get to meet you in person before I head off to the U.S. But who knows? Let us know.
You should make time to meet Lee.
Yeah.
One of the nice, and everybody knows him as a visual effects artist and the king of 3D and just a stud. But he is one of the best physical model painters I've seen. Okay. I mean, when he does a model kit, it makes me sick because it looks so good, because mine look like a 5th grader did it, and his are pieces of art. So got to give a shout out to Lee Stringer.
Yes, Lee, okay.
Just a good dude and a fantastic artist.
Sure, I'll find him on Facebook. He's on Facebook, right? Is he?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'll find you on Facebook.
It would be funny if he lives one building down. That would be so weird.
That'd be convenient.
So he just posted north of the wall in Yishun. How do you say that?
Yishun, yeah, you're right. I'm on the east side, east coast.
So does that mean you're nowhere near it?
I am in near Marine Parade. So, yeah, he's north and I'm east, but it doesn't take a long time to travel.
In honor of Lee, I'm going to say Nurnie again. Nurnie. For those of you that are just joining us, there's a term in the Lightwave world called Nurnie, and we've turned it into a drinking game tonight. So anytime the word Nurnie is used in honor of Ron Thornton, you have to take a sip of whatever beverage is nearby. It could be water. This may be water. But yeah.
So my friend...
Lee, I know you know that, but there are other people that just joined. You probably helped Ron create the word Nurnie.
Sorry to interrupt you constantly.
No, I'm interrupting you. Sorry.
No worries. Sam says, did you get a picture with Nathan and Adam?
I didn't, because sometimes it's more fun to just have the experience than get the picture. And sometimes when you ask for the picture, then it all of a sudden turns you into the fan. Yeah. And so it'd be better to just hang out and have dinner and geek out and tell the stories on your show than have that picture. Because if I'd asked for the picture, they'd be like, fanboy. What's he doing at my
Yeah.
table? So I did not get a picture with Philion and Adam Baldwin, but I kind of wish I had.
Yeah,
All right,
strangely, I'm like you as
Ernie.
well. I, I'm thinking, no, I don't want to get a picture with them. But I had a friend, I forgot his name now. I remember going to NAMM, and he would always go through all the booths and take pictures with everybody. He would even, I think he stopped Stevie Wonder. Was it Stevie Wonder or Chick Corea? One of those. They weren't interested, like they waved him away, but he insisted and persisted, and they had to give it to him. And I say friend, but he's an acquaintance. I don't know if he's still an acquaintance, but he was an acquaintance then.
Well, NAMM is how I met you. We were doing a TriCaster demo for
and we didn't take
Steven.
a picture.
We didn't. I was intimidated, so I couldn't take a picture with you. But now I'm on a show with you, so it's all good.
Right?
But yeah, Stephen Fortner introduced us, and the rest is history.
I know, and he was editor of Keyboard Magazine as well, and you ignored him.
No, I didn't ignore him. I was doing a press demo for him, and he brought you with him, and that's how I met you. And then you said, then you said, if you teach me to use TriCaster, if I teach you to use TriCaster, you'll teach me to play theremin. Which I have a feeling I could make you an awesome TriCaster user, but I don't think you could really make me an awesome theremin player.
It might take me a few years to make you an awesome theremin player, but it can happen.
It's skill. I can't move in multiple spaces with my hands at once, so
I know,
it could be a problem.
Crazy. When we work
and
in 3D...
I don't have subtlety of the fingers.
Yeah, well, you know what? It's crazy when you brought that up. When we work in 3D, we work in X, Y, and Z axes. But with the theremin, you work in 3D, but two hands as well, manipulating pitch and volume separately.
It blows my mind. It's a new scale for me of craziness. But yeah, so yeah, I'm so excited that a lot of the legends of Lightwave have logged in tonight to watch. And we couldn't have a Lightwave discussion without a shout out to the fathers of Lightwave 3D, Alan Hastings and Stuart Ferguson, because Alan had written the software Videoscape, which became Lightwave Layout basically, and Stuart Ferguson wrote Modeler, and it's like a Reese's peanut butter cup. Two great tastes that taste great together became Lightwave 3D. But they are the guys.
So, question, what would you say, and I've heard this on the grapevine, on the internet grapevine, more like through various forums, some folks feel that Lightwave 3D's glory days are over and should be laid to rest, while others are saying unkind words of its grandfather status is denying NewTek the accolade the company richly deserves.
I'm going to be diplomatic and just say Lightwave is still a very good tool. They may have made some strategic mistakes in the last few years. I won't even say what they are. Okay. I can't say what they are because I worked at NewTek when they were made. It wasn't my mistake. Lightwave is a fantastic tool. And what really made Lightwave so successful is in a lot of 3D packages, you're a specialist. Like in Maya, you have riggers and texture artists and modelers and and scripting people, and Lightwave has a large community of what they call generalists, where you could throw one shot at a person and they could model it and texture it and animate it and get it ready for render. And so that's what kind of made the Lightwave community Commando Strike Force style. And nowadays, a lot of people that are Lightwave lovers, they use every tool. It's like saying I only want one keyboard. Every tool has a different benefit, and you bring things together in a workflow and you build your pipeline nowadays, and in 3D it's become a very systematic pipeline industry. So that's kind of, Lightwave is still selling a ton of copies and everybody's upgrading, and this isn't public, but I'll make it public. Before I left NewTek 3 years ago, I tried to buy Lightwave.
Okay.
I wanted to buy Lightwave from NewTek, and they said no. I thought, man, I can do this, but it didn't work out. But I'm still not giving up. One day, maybe I will buy Lightwave,
Okay.
and help bring it back to its glory days.
That would be nice. Do we have any questions that I might have missed? Could you repost questions that we could chat about as we get to the tail end of this live stream? And Philip, you've been wonderful as usual. You're my first guest to do a reappearance.
Oh my! I'm honored. And I will say, talking about the future, one of the things that's happening right now, and somebody mentioned this earlier in the chat, we talked about real-time animation and things like that. But now with game engines, like Unity and Unreal, Lightwave 3D and the other 3D packages have direct links, so you can do more real-time, graphics and animation, and you link into those real-time gaming engines. And so you're seeing that, it wasn't Lightwave, but you see the Mandalorian. If you've seen the behind the scenes on the Mandalorian, where you're now seeing a lot more people build these virtual real-time, and there could be a chance that Lee Stringer knows something about that. But where they're building these rooms to do these real-time worlds and linking them into game engines, and the future, it really is. We're living in the future. This technology is here now, and it's so much easier to use, and motion capture is much easier, and real-time rendering is much easier, and the links between the technologies are much easier. And what's cool about the advancement of technology is that as these tools come together, I like it Lee said maybe, but so that gets you a Nurnie, Lee, so have a beverage, even if you're working. I'll have one too. Cheers to all the Nurnie fans out there. But it allows you to be more of a creator and less of a technician. But you do have to be a technician. You have to know how to tie all these pieces together and make them work together. Yeah. But once you get into that creative mode and the technology is set up and the workflow is designed, artists can just be artists more than they could have ever been in the past.
Yeah.
And it's really exciting. I mean, Mandalorian is the one that a lot of people are freaking out about, and then a lot of stuff that Disney's doing.
Yeah.
Happy Sunday morning, Lee. It's Sunday morning for you, Shelly, too. So
I know.
It's Saturday night here in San Antonio, Texas. But let's do one more Nurnie. We need another Nurnie. Everybody raise your glass. And we're going to toast to the legends that paved the way so that we could all do cool things right now. Nurnie. All right. Thank you for humoring me.
Of course.
And so what a Nurnie is, and I told everybody at the beginning I would tell them what a Nurnie is. So and Lee and the other Foundation guys, you can totally correct me because it's been a long time since Ron told me this. Call up the Babylon 5 picture, if you would, Shelly,
okay,
if you don't mind. So my definition I got from Ron of a Nurnie was when you want to make something look cool, you put little things around the surface that look like they do something. And so,
okay.
As you see the texture of the ship, there's all these little boxes and little things, and those are Nurnies is the description I got. In the chat, if someone could correct me or enhance my description, I would greatly appreciate it. But Ron's description of a Nurnie to me was, it's things you put on a model that really don't serve a purpose but look like they do to make it look cooler.
Did he come up with the word Nurnie?
I don't know if it was actually Ron or someone on his team, but it definitely came out of Foundation Imaging and those early guys that were doing all that CGI work. Lee Stringer gave me a correct. Yes, I remembered the story correctly. Lee saves the day. But yeah,
Thanks,
so
Lee.
it's and like I mentioned earlier that Lee does a lot of physical models, and if you're kit bashing and you're making something that doesn't exist from a lot of kits, you take these little pieces,
Yeah.
From other models, and you just glue them on to make it look
Yeah.
cool. And that kind of translated into the 3D animation world, and they labeled it Nurnies. We need to put more Nurnies. Let's have more Nurnies there.
Yeah, you make me think of something else that is an embellishment or an accessory to battle in space, but has no role and in fact is inaccurate, and that's sound in space.
Or perhaps explosions in space.
Yeah, because you can't have sound in a vacuum, so that's
But you have great pew 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 pew
that's
pew
a
pew pew.
Nurnie as well. Then sound in
Yeah.
space. In
That's
movies.
cool.
Yeah.
There should be a Nurnie Awards, and I'm glad that in the last few minutes of the show tonight, I've been able to say Nurnie like 10 times. So I expect everyone to post in the after chat what trouble you got into because you took so many beverages tonight during our discussion. So we want to have a follow-up from all of our cool friends in the chat. Did we get you in trouble? I hope so. Then my work here is done.
Who said that?
No, I said that.
Oh.
That was me. That was my random ranting.
Well, I was just looking up quickly a question I had for you and maybe your friends because you work professionally in 3D, and that's the concept of the Uncanny Valley. Are you familiar with that? Is
I'm
anyone
not.
in the viewing this live stream aware of the term Uncanny Valley? I'll give you
I
a
know
quick,
the Uncanny X-Men.
yeah, I'll give you a quick
Nurnie.
explanation that I got from. I just typed in Siri quickly. It's from Wikipedia. So it says in aesthetics, the uncanny valley is a hypothesized relationship between the degree of an object's resemblance to a human being and the emotional response to such an object. So I guess really what they're saying is that when the object looks so real that you confronting something that you might regard as the real thing, there is this uncanny valley response. Such as when we, with robots, for example. What was the last one? Sophia, do you remember Sophia the robot? She was made a citizen of her country. Anyone remember that one? This was not that long ago, but she had a humanoid form. She didn't seem very human-like in that she wasn't naturally human, but if she took the next step towards being more human-like, would you respond in an uncanny valley type response? I got something from Lee.
Lee is a fount of information.
So Lee,
First of all,
Lee
go ahead.
puts it in a few words for me. He says, uncanny valleys when fake humans don't look real. Fake humans look real. I think more like it.
And also, we got a little tip for any fan of Firefly and Serenity. Lee said that in Firefly, they tried to make sure you didn't have sound in space. So that's kind of cool. So now when I rewatch Firefly, I'm going to actually look for that.
Yeah.
Because, I didn't really notice that, but it makes sense. But I did become afraid of Reavers because of that show.
Yeah. I forgot who is behind Lightforge Render Network. But
that's Kelly Myers.
Kelly, thank you.
Cat, a.k.a. Cat.
Oh. I'm sorry, everyone, but, when I have so much information in front of me, I will forget you unless I get to know you as my friend. Ha, ha, ha. So, Kat says, Uncanny Valley is a zone between absolute photorealism and coming off as CG. Yeah, and it's the response you have when you confront this CG and it's photorealistic. Anyway. Get it?
I do. And and it wouldn't be a Lightwave discussion without at least Dan mentioning Kiki. So do you remember
know.
Kiki?
Yeah, I remember. She's still around.
Kiki,
Stockhammer,
what's
right?
really a funny, trippy story is I was a huge Kiki fan before I came to NewTek, and she had already left when I joined NewTek.
Oh, right.
But I had the honor of rehiring Kiki at NewTek when I was
wow.
running marketing. So she and I went to Japan and did Interby and various shows, and Kiki's amazing, and anybody that had a video toaster knows the Kiki wipes.
I remember her. Stockhammer was her last name, wasn't it? Something like that.
Yes, Kiki Stockhammer.
Yeah.
And an interesting piece of trivia.
Yeah.
She ended up in Kansas because
With
her
Dorothy?
parents because her parents were researchers on bees.
Oh.
And they were part of the team that discovered how bees do the wiggle dance and tell the other bees where the pollen is. So, a weird trivia about Kiki. She is associated with the bees dancing in the hive and wiggling. So, anyway, sorry, no one really wanted to know that, but everybody does love Kiki.
Yeah, no, when I saw her photo again, recently as I was going through all this stuff, I did like a quick time travel. I just time traveled back, and I sent shivers down my spine. It's just, and I felt the sensation of myself as a younger person as well. I don't know if you ever have that type of a time travel, kind of a reminiscing type of trip where you not only remember what happened, but you felt like you were this other person during that
I've been
memory.
doing that all night. This whole discussion, it's a walk down memory lane, and it's really cool because it's just a bunch of good people that built each other up and changed the industry. And it's an honor to know these crazy people that are in the chat, having a drink every time I say Nurnie.
So Kat says Kiki lives in Roseville, California. Is that right? Yeah, she lives.
I knew she was near Sacramento.
What do you know? The thing.
But there is a Star Trek link. She has a band called Warp 11. If you want to get a trippy experience, go look up Warp 11 and watch Kiki's music videos as they talk about Star Trek. In fact, when Shatner did the roast on Comedy Central, Warp 11, one of their songs was on that roast, and it's called Everything I Do with William Shatner. Nurnie. So anyway.
So I have something I want to show everyone, and it's Philip directed me to this. Actually, it's a trailer from a documentary called From the Bridge. And as I told Philip, I can't add the whole trailer. The problem with this is the copyright. It's not a problem, but it's a reality, and there is music under it. So the moment there is music, you have a signature. So I cut it up.
Here's the good news. I'm a producer on this documentary, and we don't have anything on there that would get flagged.
So what I did was
you can show whatever you want.
I had edited it. I compressed everything to like a 20-second quick flyby. But you can find, everyone knows everything is available on the internet. But I wanted to just let everyone know why this looks this way anyway. So I hope I will not be flagged, and YouTube won't require me to remove it, because if I remove it, the live chat disappears as well. That's
so
why
can
I'm so careful.
Can I set it up before you show your little clip?
Yes, please.
So I am helping produce a documentary called From the Bridge, and it's about the origins of fandom. And the subject of the documentary is a guy named Kerry O'Quinn, who created Starlog and Fangoria magazine. And this documentary is going to be the biggest geek out documentary you've ever seen. We actually were the opening panel of San Diego Comic-Con a few years ago in Hall H. Greg Grunberg moderated the panel. We had Nichelle Nichols on the panel. It's amazing, but it's a who's who. We've got Gene Simmons from Kiss. We've got my brain's not even working anymore, but we've got Tom DeSanto, who produced Transformers and X-Men. And in fact, some of our cool Lightwave friends have helped us with the intro. Gabe Corner and Paul Runyon have helped us with some of our animation on the intro, which the guys in the chat will know their names. But yeah, this is Stan Lee's in it, Nichelle Nichols. We've got the only footage of the time Gene Roddenberry, who created Star Trek, and George Lucas met. And that was at Star Wars Celebration 1. And so this documentary, if you're going to see some clips of it right now, but look up From the Bridge documentary teaser trailer on YouTube if you want to see the whole thing. So I'll let you play the clip.
Thanks, Philip. And if I come across problems with YouTube, I'm going to direct them to you, because I don't want to have to kill it and or remove the live chat. So I'm being conservative here.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay, here we go.
Comic fandom, it's as big as any fandom in the world.
The sense of us as a community really started to take hold under the covers of Star-Lord.
I was about 17. They needed an assistant in the comics department.
Letter to leave Star Trek.
So those are the names of the people who are in the trailer documentary.
It is amazing. Getting Stan Lee was huge. I'd worked with Stan on a few things, so I was able to set up, that interview with Stan. But also Neil Adams, which he's in it, and he's got a big piece in it. Gene Simmons, I didn't realize he was such a geek. That guy is more of a comic fan than probably anybody I've ever met. And in the documentary, he talks about how his Kiss costumes for the band Kiss, like the Demon, was based on Black Bolt from the Inhumans. So there's so many geeky moments. Jeremy Bullock, who played Boba Fett's in it. We've got Anthony Daniels, and the stories. It's all about stories. That's really what this is about. But Neil Adams talks about how he helped change comic books from being to more realistic poses and expressions and new layouts for comic books, and with the early Batman stuff he did. This documentary is going to be so freaking huge when we finally finish it. We've already got all the interviews in the can, but we're in editing right now. But we've already got a distributor for the movie. But we just have to finish it. But
I assumed that it was out because this trailer was available 3 years ago.
We have been working on it for like 8 years.
Wow.
Because it really is about the general concept is how sci-fi, comic book, and horror fans went from being an underground community that would meet in hotel ballrooms and exchange mimeograph newsletters to the most powerful fan and customer base on the planet. All the movies that are the blockbusters are all these superhero, sci-fi, fantasy movies. And now we rule the world. Geeks rule the world now.
So
it's not an underground community. That's what this movie's about.
So will the movie be available worldwide? Because Sam in Australia wants to know if they'll see it in Australia.
Yes. We're still in discussions with our distributor. If it was going to be a theatrical release, and depending on how COVID affects the industry.
Of course.
But the idea was that it would be a theatrical release and then go to digital. The idea I pitched to the other producers, and I'm still pitching this, is I said we should only do theatrical screenings at Comic-Cons and science fiction conventions. So it's part of that convention experience, and we do a certain amount of time doing that. So if you're at San Diego or New York Comic-Con or MegaCon, you can go see this movie, and then after a certain amount of time it goes to digital. But we still haven't locked that down yet, but it will be worldwide when it comes out.
Good. So are there any more questions before I wrap it up? Questions?
We always love a good question, but it's been fun having a Nurnie kind of Saturday night with Shueh-li and all these crazy friends in the chat tonight. And it is an honor to be your first guest to appear twice. And it's really fun to walk down memory lane and talk about these stories and the history of, visual effects in television and film, and the impact that Lightwave 3D had on it, and that these guys have. Now, I will say one more thing. When we started working on this movie, I instantly started going on eBay and buying up copies of Starlog and Fangoria #1.
Right.
Because when this comes out, they're going to be worth a fortune. And I do want to say that there's a secret. So like in these old magazines, this is a tip. So any of you guys on the chat, you can go buy some of these now, because Starlog and Fangoria always used to sell back issues. You could buy issue #1, but they had a fire in their warehouse and it burned up all of the back issues. So the only copies of Fangoria #1, Starlog #1, Comic Scene #1 are the ones that have been sold, because they lost all the back issues. So that's why I feel like when this movie comes out, it's going to make Starlog and Fangoria #1 go from like 50 to 75 a copy to like hundreds of dollars a copy. So I've got a stack of them at Nelco Media, because I was kind of like, it's like insider trading. I just feel like it's going to be such an important film that will open the eyes to new fans to this old magazine that was really, like, Bryan Singer's in the movie. Lucasfilm is, people from Lucasfilm are in it. It's Howard Rothman from Lucasfilm's in it. It's amazing.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm geeking out.
I'm looking forward to watching the entire documentary, and you just made me think of Fangoria and Starlog magazines, and then I thought also of Doctor Who, the first and second seasons are lost. All the classic, original, initial releases of things are no more to be found, and I'm just feeling a little sad. So I paused for a moment.
Well, when I get home tonight, in honor of this walk down memory lane, I'm going to watch Space 1999 tonight, because that was my favorite show as a kid.
I watched Space 1999 too. That's scary.
I still have the large Eagle 1 in the box here at my office. I'm a super geek.
Yeah. Oh, well. I just saw Daniel's little comment. He said, I was offline for a while. Did you define Nurnie for the newbies? Yes, we did.
We did, Dan. We did.
Daniel.
And we made everyone have a beverage.
Yes. All right, then. You've been awesome, Philip Nelson.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure, and stay safe over there in Singapore, and it's an honor to visit with you. And it's also an honor that so many friends logged in tonight to watch and chat and share these crazy stories and add to the story.
I know. Philip, you're the best. I've enjoyed this session with you, and thanks so much for sharing so much with us, your experience, your knowledge. Someone in the live chat just mentioned a while ago that you have an encyclopedic knowledge. You could print yourself in a series of encyclopedic books. Maybe that's your next product. It'll be Philip
Just
Nelson.
a nerd. I'm a nerd who loves cool things, so.
So let's see. I think that's it. Lee Stringer insists that you try durian, which is a local fruit. I'm not sure if you've heard of it. It's got a hard, spiky shell, and it's quite aromatic. If you like stinky
Reminds
cheese,
you of my hair.
If you like stinky cheese, you'll like it. We'll see.
That actually sounds kind of scary. When you refer to a spiky fruit that smells like stinky cheese, that doesn't sound delicious, but I'm game. If you bring one back, or if you somehow, I may have to go find a durian.
I think you can find it in the
link.
U.S. I don't think you're allowed to bring it on the plane because it smells. Even in the cargo area, it smells.
Really?
It's very strong. But it's delicious if you like. I like durian. It's an acquired taste for a lot of people. But if you like stinky cheese, it's not an issue at all, because you're used to having an aromatic food. That's me hot selling.
Yeah, I'm game. Once I find a durian in San Antonio, Texas, I'll report back to everyone and let you know what I thought.
Thanks, Philip. Okay, I don't see any more questions, but it's so nice having all your friends here as well. A lively chat always makes a party more interesting. So, Nurnie to everybody, and have
Yeah, Learny.
great evening or great morning or day. And
Cheers.
and I'll see you guys again soon somehow. Thanks, Philip. Take care.
Have a great night. Stay safe.
You too. Bye. So thanks everyone again. You've been great, as I said. If you haven't subscribed yet to my channel, it would be an honor for me to have you as a subscriber, in support of what I try to do for everybody. And if you want to say a few kind words that I could use to quote for my stream to encourage other people to come join you and me, that would be truly nice. Kat, you have the last word. You do not approve of the durian by the sounds of it. And he says, stay fluffy, everyone. Yes, please be kind to each other and stay safe. And rewatch the live stream if you feel so inclined, and listen to as much music as you can, because music soothes the savage beast. I don't know what I'm saying. Anyway, my guest for next week is a jazz pianist extraordinaire. She's also a Steinway artist. Her name is B.G. Adair, Adair, if you want to look her up. BG as in BEGIE. She's been around for a long time. She started off a session as a session pianist in a Nashville radio station, and she has been touring with her own trio for yonks now. And she's worth tuning in for. She has a lot of experience and knowledge to share. So I shall see you guys next week. And that's my mom opening my door thinking I'm done. Yes, still in Singapore. Next week is my last live stream in Singapore before I head back to the States, where I'll continue to stream. So, okay then, I'll see you next week. Stay safe again. Bye.